For Sandy Edmonds compensation. I added this, this is my motion that I'm making because I would like to increase Sandy Edmonds compensation by $2,500 annually. Sandy's responsibilities have certainly increased, which I can attest to. Since I've been chairman, her and I are in constant contact. So I make a motion that we approve Sandy's compensation by $2,500 annually. Do I have a second?
So moved.
I have a second. Any questions?
I have a question.
Oh, he was fine.
Just protocol wise, can the president make a motion without relieving himself from the chair? Correct.
No. And no, we're over the Robert's Rules of Order overridden by the issue of the appropriateness of each individual member of the board having the right to vote and to make motions on
I was told that.
which is state statute. So if you want to go ahead and do it, just be on the safe side, that's fine.
I think we should be on the safe side.
Yeah, because Robert's Rules of Order cannot overrule state law.
Floor is open for a motion.
Yeah.
I made a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, second.
Motion made, seconded. Sandy Edmonds' salary be increased by $2,500 a year, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, floor is open for discussion. Mr. Phillips?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Dunham, I asked you upon this particular motion for information to substantiate the merits for the increase, and you didn't have any as far as performance or anything that would validate doing so.
That is not true.
I actually.
You asked me if I had a written proposal.
Correct.
And I said, no, I do not have a written proposal. I was going to make a motion for this board. I did not say that I could not substantiate her
That's
performance.
what you just said in there. I can
Excuse me?
attest. Yes, you said I can attest that because I've been.
I can say since I have been
Correct.
chairman,
Well,
I know.
that's what I just said, Ms. Dunham. That's what I just said.
Well, if somebody could read that back to me.
Yes, that's what you just said.
I'm confused. I thought you said that you asked me if I had anything, and I thought you were referring to our telephone conversation.
No, I
Because you asked me if, you asked me if
Correct.
I had a written proposal, and I said no.
Okay.
I was making this motion.
You were making a motion, and we discussed in the last meeting about bringing things up at the last minute and bringing it before the board. I think Mr. McMillan said he didn't like to be blindsided, but he just seconded this motion without any opposition to that. And, you know, that we would get information ahead of time before it is brought before the board. Now, we have nothing in writing to substantiate the merit increase or why we're doing it other than on your word that you've been interacting with her, and it's on your word that you're asking this board to make that decision.
Correct.
Okay, but then don't you think in respect of the board that you should have supplied the board with some kind of information, evaluations of some sort that would merit why we're doing this, or you just want the board to do as it's done in the past and take into consideration that we don't have to know anything, we just take your word for it and vote?
Remember the board, I kind of present that
Excuse
statement.
me, I'm not talking to you. I'm speaking in general to proposee and asking a question. And again, you can resent what you want. But I'm telling you right now, I'm getting tired of these personal attacks every time I make a statement. My statements are not intentionally geared toward anyone. They're very generic and they're very vague and specifically asking questions that this board should be entitled to. Now, that we should have gotten information concerning. I have 5 minutes.
You got 1 minute left.
Look, well, I'm timing myself, so I know where I'm at.
You.
Well,
You
I'm
got
looking
1
right at the
minute
clock.
left. According to my
I'm looking
watch,
at
you got
I'm looking at my documentation too. So,
Ready to ask you.
yes, sir. No problem. The point I'm making is that we have to take into accountability that there's nothing wrong with your proposal, but it's not documented so that we can substantiate anything to whatever claims that are being made of why you're requesting this, because you say you work close with her, but that's not telling us anything.
I work very closely with her.
Go ahead and tell her. Go ahead and tell her. Just lay it out with her. Just put it on the table.
I asked for it.
I'm telling you, I think Sandy, responsibilities have increased. She is getting bombarded with tons of extra work.
Specifically,
Previously, in the past,
tons of what?
extra work constantly,
Oh, what is
constantly extra work.
What is it?
All sorts of extra
I
work.
mean,
Extra
apparently you have to have something in
responsibilities.
documentation.
Well, you all
Freddie, I
know.
think she's doing an excellent job. I think she's a very hard worker. So I am recommending with her
Let's-
responsibilities that she gets a $2,500 annual increase in salary. The board can vote on it for.
But my question is still the same. You're saying this, you don't bring any evaluation, you don't bring anything
Freddie, she
that,
does it all by herself. In the past, we would hire students to help. It was, you know, the person was paid a lot more money. There's a lot more
well, does any of this,
responsibilities.
does
I
any of
object to that.
is any of this validated by the proposal that we have already in place?
I didn't write a proposal. I'm making a motion for this.
But we already have something in place, that guidelines that Ms. Edmonds should be doing. That's the point I'm making. We have a contractual guideline that we must go by in order for us to be able to make these type of decisions. Now, if you want to circumvent that and ignore that, then I'm going to object to it, and I think that we need to look at this.
What are the guidelines?
We have them. We have what she's supposed to be doing. I have a copy of her proposal.
I mean, do you want to start about it?
Well, I mean, I thought this would have been the issue where we would
I
talk
might
to
be
the
able
board.
to-
Never seen, never heard of. You have 30 seconds, Freddie, your 5 minutes is up.
Well, I would have people interfere with me and interrupt me as I've been
I
asking
gave you
questions.
extra time for that.
Okay, here it is right here.
3 minutes.
And I think every one of us in here should have taken this in consideration to this proposal to see whether or not whatever she's alleging that she's doing should be then documented so that we can see whether or not it is on this list of what she should be doing. And that's what I'm asking. Because what you're saying, you're not telling us anything.
Time. Does any other board member?
I do have a question for our attorney. I've never been in a board meeting on the police jury or any other board that the actual members, as we were speaking, were timed. I know there's a 5-minute rule for people that are coming to the podium and speaking about a subject, but as far as a board member, there was never a time. Is that something this board has implemented?
The board did vote 5 minutes max on any discussion.
Oh, all right,
5 minutes max
Now,
on
now,
the
obviously,
subject.
the board can also waive that because it's a board rule.
Okay. I was just wondering about that rule, because it's the first time I've heard that rule implemented on board members.
It was here prior to me getting here.
Yeah.
Because I
I've
was
heard it
talking
on
about the first
people
thing.
in the audience speaking, but never on board members.
That's correct.
It's a self-imposed rule. It applies to everyone.
Just because they were going on one and on.
Okay. I got it.
But, I mean, again, it's a board rule that can be amended or waived by the board.
And then just in following up with that, if we as board members agree to disagree, when we make the vote, that can show our agreement or disagreement with each deal. I think as we have an opportunity to speak on behalf of a subject, you can kind of figure out if you're going to agree or disagree, but then we have the vote. If you're for it, you'll be for it. If you're against it, you'll be against it. Your vote will show that matter. Thank you.
Any other board member have anything to say before I open for public comment? Sherry, you want to speak?
Well, I just want to object to the statement that the previous incumbent made more than the current incumbent. My last rate of salary was $16 per hour. I believe this Ms. Edmonds is now making $25 an hour. And I think that 25 is more than 16, no matter how you count it. But the reason that I originally raised my hand is after listening to what Mr. Phillips had to say, and then listening to what Ms. Steinkamp had to say, I think that what Mr. Phillips is trying to ask is show him what specific responsibilities have been added to her job description that would warrant the increase in salary. What specific responsibilities that are new that have been added to that job description that she is not currently doing that warrants her getting a merit increase based on extra responsibility.
Is that all I'm saying?
That's all I have to say.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Go
Okay, Sherry, every year you had student employees, is that correct?
Sometimes I did have student
You
workers,
had several every year.
but I also had continuing education, which she doesn't have.
Well, I understand that. We should have never had that start, but that's beside the point.
Well,
But anyway,
it's not though, because
She,
she has a much less workload than I do.
I want to ask you one question. If she got the same workload that you had,
No, she doesn't.
Well, she's issuing license at the end of the year, and that was always one of the deals, that you had to be extra help for issuing license. So there was always a student worker there the whole year round, I think, but I'm not sure of that. But, I mean, she doesn't have a student worker, does she?
No.
So the student worker was surely costing more than $2,500.
Anyone else? Robert?
Yes. The general sentiment that I've gotten is that Miss Edmonds is doing a really great job. Is that correct?
Oh, I think she's doing a fabulous job.
Was she doing a great job when she failed to detect or failed to ask Mr. Mahaney if he had operated a business, and thereby he had to surrender the auction that he had upcoming to Mr. Dave Gilmore?
Even to this day, Mr. Mahaney has not requested this board for his own business license and has chosen to continue to operate under Mr. David Gilmore.
There have been no other auctions conducted. I'm asking the question, was he asked?
Okay. Are you asking
I am
me
at-
if she's doing, you asked me, Robert, if she's doing a good job.
I asked you if she was doing a good job in that
As
instance.
chairman of this board, Sandy reports to me, directly to me. Her and I are in touch constantly, and I'm going to answer your question. I can't answer that one specific question to you, but I'm going to answer your question wholeheartedly. She's doing a fabulous job.
Okay, well, I got a few other items, and I'm at 5 minutes. Another, was she doing a great job when she overlooked the Ken Bueller incident where he didn't have Louisiana voter registration, and this board actually issued him a residential license and had to come back and give him a non-residential license?
Hey, point of order.
There's
Point
no
of
such
order.
thing as a residential or non-residential.
There is when you go to get reciprocal license.
What do you mean?
If you're seeking a Texas license, you're going to have a residential license in order to get a license in Texas.
He doesn't have a license in Texas.
I understand that, but he was even quoted in the...
He got a license. We don't have a residential or non-residential license.
Ms. Dow, were you not...
Wait, let me finish.
Yes, ma'am.
The law only provides for a a license issued to operate in Louisiana or a reciprocal license to operate in Louisiana. The first does not require you to actually live in Louisiana to obtain a license. Otherwise, we would not have a large number of people who did not have licenses. We do not have anything called a non-residential license. It does not exist in the statutes. It is a license or it's not. Many states, I think you're referring to the backdoor licensing through reciprocal, which has been outlawed in a number of states, not all of them. If Mr. Bueller attempted to get a license reciprocal based on a state in which he does not live, then he may not be able to get a license in every state.
And you work...
Wait,
Okay,
finish.
I thought you were finished. I'm sorry.
Voters' registrations are required to get a license. He provided one from Texas. That was all he was required to provide. So why would he have to provide a Louisiana voter's registration?
You were quoted in the paper as saying we were trying to assist Mr. Bueller. The Texas licensing folk won't even talk with him. You were quoted in an article by Ted Griggs stating that verbatim, were you not?
Not that I recall.
Well, I'll pull the article for you.
Not that I recall.
You were quoted, you said, and I have that article, you said we were trying to help him out in Texas. Texas won't even talk to him before he's gotten his license here.
We have not had anything to do with Texas, nor have we.
I'm just asking you, were you quoted in the papers having made that
Not that I
statement?
recall.
Okay.
Through, Robert.
Now, I'm going to ask one more. Was she,
I'm asking.
that's right, was she,
You got a minute and a half left.
thank you. Was she doing a great job when, didn't bother with calling me to ask me when I'm trying to promote a high school reunion with Reverend Phillips here? Nobody called me to ask me, well, you know, and I had the permission, not once, not twice, but 3 times from the Arthritis Association. Was she doing a great job then? When she called the East Baton Rouge Parish, and the next day, terrorism unit state police.
We cannot talk about that. That's in litigation.
Very good.
A file by you,
Yes, correct.
which was dismissed yesterday.
Was not dismissed.
I'm sorry, was it dismissed?
No.
Yes, thank you.
I believe I have 30 days left to amend the pleadings. Is that correct?
But it's dismissed as of today.
It says as of today, and you made the statement, did you not, yesterday, that the Dow matter was dismissed, did you not?
Yes, and it is.
Then I guess that answer you filed last week is to a non-existent.
You've never served me with the other ones.
Mr. Chairman, can we get back to,
His time's up.
Thank you.
can we get back to,
You're welcome.
he was just making a statement.
He's pointing to me, it's my turn.
Oh, I thought you were saying.
Yeah, he's signaling it to Greg.
I just wanted to ask for a roll call vote on the motion.
Well, when the question is up, we can do that.
You've already,
I call for question, and I need a second to that. Then we vote and call for question.
Do we have a second?
Well, he didn't
I will second.
that's not what he said, Hal.
Okay, but once you call for question, you gotta stop, you got a second, you vote on call for question, then you vote on the item being discussed.
All those in
Discussion is
favor of
finished.
call on the
No.
question,
Yes, it is.
please
No, it's not.
answer by roll call
No, it's
vote.
not.
Mr.
No.
Bordelon?
yes.
No, it's not. It's not called for question and
Yes.
question answer.
Yes.
That did not come from the chair.
Yes, it did. The
The
man
call for
called the
question.
question.
I made the motion,
If
call for
If
question,
you
yes,
hadn't been
second.
talking, you'd heard.
No, I was listening. You did not make the call for question. He
You don't have to, you can make it from the floor.
Ms. Smith, you need to vote so we can close out.
No, I second it. Call roll, Sandy.
It's supposed to be a roll call vote.
Call roll.
Mr. Bordelon?
Yes.
Mr. Brisker?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
No.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Ms. Steinkamp?
Yes.
All right,
6-1.
the vote is 6-1, the question
That's
is
a
called.
roll call vote.
Now, all those in favor of the basic motion to give Sandy Edmonds a $2,500 a year raise will vote by roll call vote.
Mr. Bordelon?
Yes.
Mr. Brisker?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes.
Mr. McMillan?
Yes.
Mr. Phillips?
No.
Mr. Sims?
Yes.
Ms. Steinkamp?
Yes.
6-1.
Motion carried 6-1. Madam Chairman, you have.
Thank you.